I'd like to give everybody a little more of an update on the city's preparations for Hurricane Sandy right now. The forecast for a large and dangerous storm surge is the same as it was this morning. Earlier today, I signed an executive order for the mandatory evacuation of homes and businesses in Zone A. Time is running out, but the most important thing I can say right now is if you live in Zone A, you must evacuate.
If you wanted to dream up a monster storm, Sandy had all of those elements. It came at the high tide. It combined a hurricane and a nor'easter. It came in exactly the wrong direction. Everything together added up to this record surge. Before Sandy, the highest storm surges were all between 4 and 5 feet. Sandy brought us 9 feet above the high tide line. It doubled the high surges of the past.
All that water seemed to come into our subway system. Some subway tunnels were filled to capacity.
Be careful because the water has some grease in it, so it might be a little slippery.
We have 7 East River tunnels. They all flooded. It's in the hundreds of millions of gallons of salt water, which of course is more damaging to our electrical equipment. Salt water is also a better conductor. We have to shut the system down if we want to prevent people from getting electrocuted. I think people take transit for granted. I think people take electric power for granted. When those things are out, people start to realize this is serious. We have people here in New York City that still don't have power.
A week ago, this place was totally full with books. The book itself is the art object. We realised that this hurricane was coming, and so we went down to the basement and did our best to do preparation for it. As it turns out, it was all in vain. It was actually a surge, so it came through, and as it was going into the basement, it knocked over all the piles anyway. So even most of the stuff that was stored in an elevated height ended up getting tipped into the water. If you look high enough there, you can actually see where the water line was. So unfortunately, nothing survived. I knew we were goners because someone had actually tweeted that 10th Avenue was now part of the Hudson River. This is the first time we've experienced anything like this. I guess this is our new reality to some extent.
We know climate change made Sandy's flooding worse because the seas are higher than they used to be. Climate change, by warming our oceans, is expanding those oceans and causing sea level to rise. The global average sea level rise is 8 inches. New York has seen a total of 15 inches since 1880. That raises the base elevation that storm surge goes on top of. And that makes floods more damaging. It makes extreme floods more common.
Basically, Hurricane Sandy came in and flooded the entire street, and we thought we'd be fine, but fire started on the corner and just spread down the entire block. I grabbed a bag. The only thing my dad took was his medication and the clothes on his back. I was trying not to look back because you just wanted to keep going, but when you left, it was like, the only way I can describe it is 10 billion fireflies flying through the air, all the embers, because the wind was so strong. It was, I think they said 70 miles per hour, maybe more. And you just heard like the explosions of the transformers popping behind you, and you felt the heat and like your eyes were burning from all the smoke. I think climate change is a really important issue. If this is what's going to happen to people, if this is going to keep getting worse, something needs to be done. You can't ignore it. You can't act like this isn't happening, that the weather isn't changing, because clearly it is.
It's not theoretical, it's not political, it's a reality. Sandbags and plywood worked for Irene. Sandbags and plywood did not work for Sandy, and I think that's something that we have to think about. We have to think about maybe concrete or steel structures to close our subway entrances. We have to think of floodgates. We have to think about a lot of things and build things bigger and better than we ever have before.
Sandy did horrific damage, but it was the tiniest fraction of the danger that's presented by climate change over time. We're going to see more and more storms launching from higher and higher seas, causing floods all over the place, not just New York. We're going to see the map change. We're going to see the coasts rewritten. We're going to have to move back from the ocean. We have to prepare if we want to protect ourselves. But we won't be able to prepare for the worst of what climate change could bring if we do nothing to slow down our emissions. So for New York City, this is a picture of what's coming. Sandy is a postcard from the future.